Making excuses for why you aren't able to succeed is easy, but excuses aren't going to help you achieve that goal. A common way to explain away a failure is by placing the blame on others. Whether it be your own family or a multinational company, they are simply a group of people. Listen to, motivate, and praise others, because this is how they flourish. Celebrate the victories of others and yourself, and you will help create a better environment for everyone involved. Everyone messes up in their lives, and we all suffer hardships at some point. Don't allow that to stop you. Do everything it takes to pull yourself out of that hole and make decisions which allow you to avoid making the same mistakes twice. If you do make that same mistake again, it's okay to give yourself a second chance. Take an interest in what is going on around you. When you notice things happening that you don't like, do what you can to make a change. Start small if you need to, because small things can grow to create a big impact. Everything is an opportunity, and when you approach them, stay optimistic. By remaining positive about life, you'll have a better chance to find ways to solve the issues you don't like. When you have an idea, don't worry about the opinions of others when making the decision to pursue it. There will always be an outside force trying to convince you not to do something. Follow your heart, because if you do something that makes you happy, it may make others happy as well.
Well, I think the most important thing about running a company is to remember all the time what a company is. A company is simply a group of people. And as a leader of people, you have to be a great listener, you have to be a great motivator, you have to be very good at praising and looking for the best in people. You know, people are no different from flowers. If you water flowers, they flourish. If you praise people, they flourish. And that's a critical attribute of a leader. There is a very, very thin dividing line between success and failure. Most people who set up in business without financial backing, they fail at some times in their lives. And I've only just stayed at the right side of that dividing line. For instance, just after we had a record company, I was fed up flying on other people's airlines. I felt that the experience of flying on other people's airlines was an unpleasant one, and I decided to set up an airline. Our bank went into complete panic attack, and when I came back from doing the inaugural flight of Virgin Atlantic's very, very first flight from London to New York, I came back to find the bank manager sitting on my doorstep and informing me that they were going to close Virgin down on the Monday, and this was the Friday, and that I had 2 days to effectively pay them off the monies that they'd loaned us.
I think so many of us mess up in our lives. I was lucky I messed up when I was 19 years old. Thought I could get away with not paying some tax. It's not a good idea. A night in prison. I was fortunate. My parents had a house. They were willing to mortgage the house. So I didn't have to spend longer in prison. And I think that's a system that's flawed. Why should people while they're waiting on bail who can't afford it go to prison, and people who can afford it not go to prison? But that's another subject. That moment just being in prison made me, first of all, realize that I didn't like the idea of going to prison. So from then on, I think I've managed to make sure I make decisions where I can sleep well at night and avoid that. But I've also just learned that if you give people a second chance in life, and I had a second chance, I wouldn't have been employing 60,000 people, I suspect, if I'd spent 2 or 3 months in prison. If you give people a second chance, they can do great things. I was interested as a sort of young 14, 15-year-old about what was going on around the world. And I was inquisitive. And the Vietnamese War was raging. It seemed to me, as it seemed to a lot of young people, a very unjust war, as most wars actually turn out to be. I, like a lot of other people, wanted to campaign to try to stop it. There was no young person's magazine at the time. Yeah, so being dyslexic, thinking that I could be an editor of a magazine, but I thought I could give it a shot. And so I decided to leave school and start a magazine a campaigning magazine to try to reform education and try to...
I look at everything as an opportunity. I'm positive about life generally, and I generally feel that you can find ways of solving problems and making things work. And I'm definitely a sort of glass, nearly full kind of person rather than a glass half full. So I think out of being just a generally positive person, you can make positive things happen. So if I come up with an idea for a new business, I don't bring in accounting firms to cost analyze it, because one accounting firm will say it's a good idea, another accounting firm will say it's a bad idea. So if I, for instance, had brought in an accounting firm to say, will Virgin Atlantic work when we started the airline, I'm sure they would have said no way. But what I knew was if I could create the kind of airline I'd want to fly on that was exceptionally better than any other airline flying, that it was likely that more money would come in the year than go, and I'd have money left over at the end of the year.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, comment, or subscribe for more content.